Hi, everyone. It's Alexander Fernandez with Video Games Real Talk. We have an amazing guest for you today. Someone who I have had the tremendous opportunity of working with for the past, I think, 5 years now. It's been about 5 years,
7.
hasn't it?
It's gonna be
Has it been
7
five?
soon.
Has it been 7 years?
hmm
You're shit. Wait, what?
Yeah, it's close to 7 now.
Oh my. Clearly, I've been drinking, and it's not even 8 p.m. So, no, everyone. Honestly, all jokes aside, my good friend Sapna, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Sapna, here's the thing. I'm not even going to try to pronounce your last name, so why don't you do it for
No,
me?
it's okay.
No, go for it.
Yeah,
Sapna.
I'm Sapna Sudhakaran. That's me, my dad's name. Together. That's my name. Yeah, I'm head of production for All Pixels by Streamline, which is one of the brands, and under Streamline Media Group, of course. And yeah.
You, Sapna. 7 years on this journey, and clearly we've been walking through a lot of things together. And basically, I got to let the audience know out there that I'm really happy that you're here because in the end, you actually have the most viewed video on the Starveup channel, which is the side channel that we have that really was the forerunner to Video Games Real Talk, where you came on and talked about what it takes to be a video games project manager, which was
Yeah.
also a producer, because let's be honest, it's pretty much the same thing. But the
Mhm.
thing is, that thing has just raked up the views. What do you think about that? Why do you think it was so popular?
Yeah, it was very interesting. I think that the comments on there as well was super encouraging because a lot of people who were interested in becoming a project manager, they found it probably quite insightful. Like because being a project manager, there's so many different things to think about. Preparing for the interview, you don't really necessarily know what you're going to get into. So having some, maybe being able to listen to someone talk about it and figure out, okay, this is probably some of the things that I could expect becoming a project manager. Maybe that was something that was very helpful to some people. So at least that's what I got from the comments, which was very
Yeah,
nice
the
to
comments were
see.
good.
That was cool. Yeah.
No, I mean, honestly, I even got emails sent over asking about it. You very succinctly laid out what it takes to be a project manager and really how to get into this business. And I think this is important that,
Mm.
at that moment in time when you gave that presentation, which actually would have been 5 years, actually would have been on your fifth anniversary because that was 2 years ago.
Oh yeah. It would have
Yeah.
been five
So
years.
do you
Yeah.
like how it was stuck in time?
I
Apparently,
know.
I just got
Yeah.
some thought. I'm like, yeah. So like, here we go. So now I realize it's not. So the viewers out there aren't like, wow, this guy doesn't know who works with them. Like,
Oh
no,
God.
I'm just old. This is basically 20 years of video games. It rots your mind, children. Be careful.
Yeah.
No, really,
Yeah.
what it comes down to is basically this: is that you were literally 5 years in, and honestly, the comments that came in out of all of them, it's just like, a not only did you connect with the audience, but you really gave some very insightful feedback, real talk, the type of talk that we like on this podcast. But more importantly,
Yeah.
that helps people really make decisions on whether or not they're going to get into the industry, and if they are, what they can actually do. So I'm very honored for you to come back. You didn't have to, but you decided to, which makes me super happy because then it's not me saying, "Hey, Sapna, can you please do me a favor?" But yes, Sapna, can you do me
No,
a
thank
favor?
you. Thank you for having me. I'm so privileged to be here, and I'm actually very privileged to be in this industry as well. Um, yeah, it's
You know
it's
what?
a great
You earned it though,
experience.
Sapna, honestly. Like, out of a lot of the people I've seen their journey into video games, you literally took the craziest journey into video games. And we're going to get into this because honestly, I want people to understand it's like, how you turned a left turn in Albuquerque instead of going right to New York. I'll never understand. But you know what? That brought you over here to us at Streamline, which I'm very happy about. But before we
Yeah,
get into that, why don't you tell people what you do and what it means? Then we're going to go through how did you get here?
yeah, okay. Yeah. So, as I mentioned earlier, I'm head of production for All Pixels. It is a brand that works with partners, external partners, to service them for their games. Making art for the games. So, 3D engine implementation, those kind of things. So, as head of production, I lead a team of project managers myself. And I also, on occasion, handle my own projects. And under project, with the project managers, we also have art leads as well as all the artists in our team. So, yeah, that's pretty much in a nutshell what we do. We manage projects, we manage our teams, to be better, to help them be better artists or to support them in their journey in game development. Um, yeah, that's what we do.
So let me get this straight. You go from project manager to the head of production. So you went from basically running a couple of projects to then running a bunch of project managers and then working with a general manager. Is that how that works, or what does
No.
that look like?
No, actually, my journey is a little bit different than that. So, so I just, well, I guess I'll start from the beginning.
Yeah, let's go. Let's go way back. Let's hold on a second. You ready for the music? The way back music. You ready? Let's do this.
Let's do this.
Let's do this. All right, take us back. What year is it so I know what song to play?
2015. Yes, 2015.
So what were you bumping at that time?
Man, what was it? Man, I don't even remember the songs I used to listen to back then. You know what? If you can play some Bonobo, that would be great.
No, but okay. You don't want a little Bieber in there for you?
I'm good.
Oh,
I'm
just
good.
so everybody understands, just so you know, just how exquisite taste Sapna has, she is a bit of a music snob. I'll be straight
Yeah,
up. We rock her playlist. I
I
still
am.
rock her
I
playlist.
am.
I literally rock it all the time. I think everyone out there should subscribe to her playlist. We're gonna have to link that below because her playlist on Spotify is legit. It actually is very
I,
good.
I need to update that one actually. We started that during the lockdown, right? That we during the
I'm
first couple of
telling you
months of
that
lockdown.
it's phenomenal. You got great taste. So,
Oh, thank you.
clearly she wasn't a Bieber fan, but it is 2015. So what are you doing in 2015, Sapna?
So yeah, I just came back from Korea from a volunteer program, an exchange program. I was just bumming around at home, and I was like, you know what, let me try and look for a job. Um, I wasn't really ready, but I was like, looking around, and I saw this company, this company with a bunch of you guys, just a picture of you guys there, and I was like, huh, this looks very interesting. It's in KL. Let me try apply because I was doing finance. I was studying finance actually, but I didn't want to do it. And then I saw this company. I was like, oh, well, how can I get into this company because it looks really cool. And then I saw this HR assistant position. I applied for it and I got it within a week, which was very surprising. And yeah, that's pretty much how I started. And my entire career, my working life has been with Streamline. And I would say I pretty much grew up here. Although I spent my 20s, I turned 30 in a week or so. That's insane. But yeah, I think it's really a defining moment. To just
Wait a
join
second.
Streamline.
So hold on a second. You basically are studying finance, and then you tell your parents I'm working in a video games company.
Yeah,
I can hear
yeah.
the needle scratching on the record right there. Wait, like, how do you convince them? Be like, thank you, parents, for supporting me, but now I'm gonna go make games. You thought I was gonna be in finance. Like, how did you
Yeah.
wait, what? No, honestly, how do you do that?
Um, well, I applied first, got the job, then I told my parents. Yeah.
How do they take the news that they're like, their child who was gonna be the banker, the financier, the investor
hmm
ends up working in basically video games? Like, honestly, how did they take it?
I mean, to explain what video games or what it was or what it was like to work in this company, I think that was a challenge. Like my dad says, I work in IT still, a software more like. I
Very much
mean,
more
I
respectable
guess.
crowd, right? Soon he'll be saying you're working in the metaverse. Just wait. He'll be
Exactly.
telling his friends
Yeah.
that very soon.
Yeah. Yeah. No, we were talking about it actually, and it's crazy. That he knows or he knows what metaverse is, and it's being mass adopted now. And you is thinking about it, you have been talking about it for years, and
Yeah, I'm
now
just
being
old,
in
Sapna.
it.
That's just it. Yeah, and I mean, you know what? It's fun. It's funny to basically realize that I wasn't crazy all these years. That's out of
Mhm.
everything that's happened here. I'm so happy that this has happened. So it doesn't look like I was just obsessed on like some crazy journey that only I could see. It's very good to basically find out that you were just living in the future. You were not just
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah.
It's very good.
It's nice to be called a visionary, not an insane person.
Well, no, I get other adjectives, but let's let's move on. But let me Okay, so get this. So you come into Streamline, you come in through HR.
Yeah,
At
yeah.
how do you end up becoming a project manager, and why project management of all the things?
Um, I guess from being HR, we were at this point where we were small, small enough to have people wear multiple hats. And then that allowed for a lot of movement internally, right? So from HR, doing ops because we needed people to handle, making sure the coffee is there and everything. Um, and then moving on to recruitment because we were in a period of very rapid growth. I think we grew from like 80 people to like 200, wait, 100 something? I can't remember. But it was a very quick period of growth during then. It was very exciting. That was around 2016, 2017. And then moved to finance. That was fun. Accounting, doing a little bit of accounting, bookkeeping. Actually, learned a lot. Um, being in these different back end roles really gives you a lot of insight to how the business runs. Um, yeah, so it was more of like taking the mindset that I'm not growing upwards, I'm going wide. Getting that kind of different experiences, right? Dipping my toes in everything. And then you guys decided, like, okay, you know what? We're going to split and have different brands because we need to focus, right? We need to focus in different aspects of the game development pipeline. And yeah, I think you guys actually gave me the opportunity to take on the head of production role just like that. I'm like, oh wow, you guys really trusted me
I know, right? This
to.
is Streamlined. We saw the talent inside of you,
I
and we're like, you know
know.
what? Either it's the greatest thing ever, it's the stupidest thing we could ever do.
I know.
That,
Just
that's some real
let's
strategy
just
there.
let's just throw people. Yeah, you take the head of production role and let's see how you handle it.
All jokes aside,
That
though,
was
is I remember
fun.
when we had that conversation because basically what it came down to was that we had seen you go through the organization, come in from studying finance to doing HR, to then helping us grow tremendously fast in every which way. You nailed it every time. Went into the finance team, basically, then discovered why finance is probably not for you, and basically continued moving forward. And I think that opportunity right there, when we had it to say, hey, listen, we need someone who can just get stuff done and who's daring enough. You had all the requisites to do this. You were curious, you're smart, you knew how to get stuff done, and more than anything else, you understood the business. And I think that is something that really, when I put myself back in those shoes and I think about it, I mean, it was probably one of the best decisions we ever made because in the end, look at you now. And I think this is something where, for us, it's been phenomenal to watch you grow and to see you get to where you are now. And obviously, where you're going is even beyond. But I'm curious about that journey to get to the point where project management, do you feel that you had all the skills ahead of time, or what was it like, and what are those skills that were necessary to learn in order to do the job better?
Yeah, so I would say there's two sides to it. I was learning to be a head of production as well as being a project manager at the same time because I was, trying to figure out directly how art was being made for games. Being in this position, so I think having all the other aspects down, like recruitment or HR, learning the P&Ls and stuff, that helped in the management aspect of the position. But um, being, or more like being involved in the actual game development pipeline in the art side, I had to learn kind of from scratch how what it meant, what all the terms meant in the first place, and how each one kind of affected each other. Um, More than that, I think it's just building relationships with the team members because what I lacked in information, I have to get it from people in order to do my job because I have to convey information to the clients, to internal stakeholders like my own boss or my own team members and stuff. So it's kind of like I kind of relate it to even now because technology, I can never catch up to it. We all can never catch up to it. So where I was back then is still where I am now in terms of the knowledge gap of technology and how games are being made. So I may have said like, oh, things will get better. I would know better, but actually, no. I'm still in that phase where technology has moved forward. The way we are doing things have changed so much that even now I still have to make use of that ability to get information from different people, put it together in a way that makes sense for um, everyone else. Like I said, clients or whoever it is. Yeah. So that would be the most important thing I learned.
So
Yeah.
let's unpack this for a second. First off, were you a gamer before you came into Streamline?
No, no, I wasn't really. Um,
Do you
yeah,
think it's necessary to be a gamer?
no, I don't think so. Not at all.
How
And
come?
I really come from the standpoint, or I'm more like, if you're not, even if you're not a gamer, just know that this industry can be for you.
So then you go from this is perfect because a lot of people think that you need to be a gamer or you need to know something about games in order to make games, which is kind of the biggest oxymoron possible because you're like, how is this possible? So
Yeah.
what you didn't have in games, you clearly made up in terms of interpersonal skills. Because one thing that comes across and one thing that was always been clear about you is that you know how to communicate. So the job and a lot of what you just talked about was communication. You knew you
Mhm.
didn't know the technical aspect of things, but you knew the relationships matter. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, a lot of people think that you need to be an extrovert in order to do this job as well. But in actual fact, I think you just need to think about your how you want to be treated. Let's say you put yourself in any kind of job, in any kind of situation, and you were doing your job, and someone comes to you and tells and is like, give me some information about your job so I can convey it to other people. Just like that, how you would want to be communicated to, you take those values and you use it to talk to other people, and that's not that difficult because you're being really yourself and you're trying to talk to people.
You just covered something called emotional intelligence. Like my mind just exploded right there. So wait,
Yes,
you have a thing called empathy. You have a thing called being rational, and then understanding when to turn both on and off at will.
exactly. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
so let's. Okay, wait a
yeah.
second. Okay, so you basically realize as you come in that emotional intelligence, empathy, soft skills are keys to
Hmm.
success. Take
Yeah,
us
in
through
any
that
any
moment. Yeah,
position.
no,
Yeah.
absolutely. Well, and so here's the thing. It's like, you know, really, I'm sure there are people listening to this being like, wait a second, you mean I don't need to be a technical person?
Hmm.
No. You mean I need to be someone who can just communicate? Yeah. But how do you basically then go about doing the realm of the job, especially in the early days, when your team is telling you maybe a bunch of acronyms, it's alphabet soup, they're talking about like
Yeah,
high poly, low poly, they're
yeah.
basically going left and right on this. Like, what, I mean, were you just like, I trust you, or were you like, okay, I better learn this too?
Yeah, it's a mix of both actually. I really put a lot of trust in my team to know what they're doing because I'm not the expert they are. They spend so much time honing their skills. The least I can do is respect that and honor honor and trust. Like, okay, yeah, you guys know what you're doing, what you're saying.
Mind blown here. Honor, respect, and trust. Are we in the same
Yeah.
industry? I sometimes wonder. It's like,
Oh
yeah, you're
man.
right. It's like they're the experts.
Yeah.
Wow. Please continue. Keep going.
Yeah. So all I'm here to do is make sure that we provide the clients with quality work, which you guys are doing or you guys are working on, the artists, the leads, and we just take that information, like I mentioned, to I guess rewrite it or make it sound more succinct or more I won't say appropriate, but easily readable, more communicable to whoever it is that needs to read it, like I mentioned. So, um, yeah, I do have to learn. Of course, we do have to learn some of the basic stuff in game development. It's always going to be like, yeah, I should know some of the stuff, but it's not really something that you have to go to school for, or we have to really sit down and study. Maybe learning the engine for our own knowledge or whatever. That's fine, but it's not like we have to. It's not a prerequisite in order to do it. And actually, speaking of which, our team in BD4 especially, really proud of the team because none of us are from project management, or more like none of us are from games either. We have an aeronautical engineer who just joined us, and if people from events, and of course me from finance. Our GM is from biomedical sciences, so it's really a soup, really of different experiences, and that's what makes it even more interesting because as project managers, we rely on each other, to help us out, and we also have our leads to help us out too if we don't understand anything. So
Absolutely. Well, let me ask you something because you went into a place that I think is very fascinating here, and it's the mix of diverse backgrounds. The fact that none of
yeah,
you guys are from games, none of you project managers have project management experience. You really came in with an understanding of how to put something together by having emotional intelligence, empathy, listening skills, and you understood quite clearly that the job is how to translate technical and creative talk into a human readable language that everyday
yeah,
people can understand.
yeah.
When did you come to that realization that that interface is exactly why you succeed at this job? Was it instantly, or did it take time for you to realize, like, wait a second, you pay me just to be a human being?
I think it's more of learning from or observing how other people do it. People who were, um, more experienced in project management. You have Yaji, you have Richard, who are GMs of their own brands here in Streamline, and they have very good emotional intelligence. And I look up to them, and I look up to you guys as well because all of your communication skills are amazing, right? And we learn by observing and knowing, like, okay, yeah, that's what I really like about it, and those are the values that I want to uphold in the way I do things. you know and for us in the team, especially as we grow, in project management, as we grow our project managers, we pretty much root our team in specific values. We actually have conversations with our team individually. What are your values as a manager, as a human being, actually, not as managers, as human being? And we pinpoint the key identifiers, like, so we pinpoint the similarities, the similar values that we have, and then what we want to do is create an identity around those values. So that's something that we really do care about because that's, if what we lack in video game knowledge is replaced by this.
It's interesting because basically what you're doing at that moment in time is you're leveraging a lack of knowledge with whole incredible amount of empathy and
Hmm.
humanity, which is
Yeah,
then basically weighted with all of your experts that you represent. So the
yeah,
reality is basically you're doing what you're strong in, which they may not necessarily be the strongest in. And in
yeah,
this case, you create balance, yin and yang. You know,
exactly,
I mean, it's
exactly.
like, again, I'm sure there are people out there being like, what do you mean? It's like, well, isn't it funny how, in the end of the day, you can leverage people's capabilities, weaknesses become strengths, and vice versa, in order to create these opportunities? And this is something that I think is really important for the audience out there that is listening or watching us. It really does come down to understanding how, in the team that you're a part of, what your strength is, how to take what is you believe to be a weakness and pair that with someone else's strength. And
Hmm.
together, you can overcome things. So, as project managers, specifically with a culture in set, what is that culture? What do you think is the culture of a great project management team or of a project manager in general?
It's going to go back to the same thing that we keep talking about, like just having a lot of empathy, understanding the company's core values and culture. We, like, I can say we want to give opportunities to gamers, non-gamers, fans, whoever it is who wants to join the video games industry, and that's exactly what we embody. And as people who are passionate about it, we do care about, bringing in interns, bringing in people who are non experienced in the industry, and then we see them grow. We help we grow together. And that's some of the biggest defining factors of our brand. You know, empathy, communication. Yeah, those are the main things. Just yeah, those are
Do you
that's the
find it
culture.
Yeah, no, and that's a great culture because a lot of people basically, if you go into message boards and you ask people, like, I don't know how to get into the industry. It's so elite. It's so who you know. Do you find that weird that basically people find it so difficult to get into the games industry, into something that is, it touches so many people's lives, but it can seem so insular and so almost like, I don't know, elite for the hell of being elite without actually
Yeah,
understanding that it's actually, it's a job, man. I mean, it's like,
yeah, yeah.
we need talent. So, I mean, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, it is interesting, but uh, what I've what I've noticed is that, especially for the project management team, or project managers who want to join in the industry, it feels like there's a barrier, but actually people are open to helping. Like individually, I think people are very open to helping each other out as well. Like if you just go up to someone in LinkedIn and talk to them about the industry and stuff, I think a lot more often than not, you'll always get someone to say like, yeah, let me help you out, let me give you some tips and stuff. Um, but as a group, yeah, I've seen that. Um, yeah, it's
Well, let me
interesting.
ask you then, what tips would you give an aspiring project manager, someone who wants to get in? What are Sapna's top 5 reasons, like Business Insider, 5 ways that you too can be a project manager in video game? Are you ready?
Oh man, five.
This will be the bullet points right here. These will define a generation of project managers.
Man,
All right,
that's a
Sapna, let's
lot.
do
Five
it.
is a lot. Yeah.
Okay.
So like I mentioned, just well, I think it's more of like, if you were not in the industry in the first place and you want to be a project manager, something would have caught your eye. Something would have made you want to join the industry as a project manager. Or on the flip side, even if you didn't have any experience at all, and you wanted to set foot into the industry, probably project management could be one of the ways to join it. So there's two sides to this, right? But um, either way, I think again, reaching out to people in the industry, project managers or producers in the industry, a lot of indie studios as well, producers or project managers in indie studios would be very helpful. Um, Watching podcasts like this, I think, to get more insight about the video games industry. Um, I think there's also a lot of communities, like producer communities on Discord. If you reach out to people, I think they can always let you know, like, okay, there are some communities out there that are very open to people who are interested in joining the games industry, and they will share insights. If you guys add me on LinkedIn, I can I can invite you to those. Just yeah, just plugging it in there.
And she's actually serious if you reach out to
Yeah,
her. So, I
yeah,
mean,
yeah, yeah.
well, Sapna, I mean, there goes your LinkedIn network. It's probably about to, quadruple now, but
It's
that's
great.
actually really
I
nice of
look
you. I
forward to
mean,
it.
no, well, honestly, listen, I mean, here's the thing. I mean, you hit a good reason on something, and I think this is important that in the end is that it comes down to the person's desire to be in this industry. If you want
Yeah,
to be in it, you're going to cross the barrier. At this point, you just have to cross the digital divide, reach out to someone and say, "Hey, listen, I'm curious about this. Can you tell me more?"
yep.
And they respond or they don't, but you can't be afraid to do that. So actually on that standpoint, I'm curious, like as you look towards basically say being a project manager, would you say that there's a lot of doubt that someone has to come over or overcome
Oh my
in
god.
order to be good at the job? Yeah, tell me about that. What does that look
Yes.
like? Okay, let's do it. What help me understand the
Oh
doubt.
man.
What is the Rubicon look like?
Oh man. Yeah. So I think obviously everyone's experiences would be different. Um, just from the surface level, of course, from the easiest example, the fact that you don't even know the games industry, you're not necessarily a great gamer, but you are the face of the projects, the companies, when it comes to you know interfacing with our clients, our partners. Yeah, partners would be the better word, but yeah, like you kind of have to get over all those insecurities. Like, oh my god, I don't know what the hell I'm doing sometimes, or I don't know what these guys are saying is so technical. Like you just have to kind of manage it, or kind of just trust that with experience you'll be able to handle that insecurity. Because again, you'll never be able to understand 100% what information is being handed over to you. you know of course, there's also the other underlying self of sorry doubts that one will face, like imposter syndrome. The fact that maybe you're a POC, a woman in the industry, all those different kind of factors at play. And as a manager, as a leader of your team, because project management is a leadership role. It's as simple as that. Like, um, whether or not you directly do appraisals or whatever, or anything like that a manager would do, you are a manager. You're leading a team to execute in the best way possible, right? And in order to do that, you have to kind of have a sense of self and who you are, and understand what your own insecurities are. Observe it, because then at least you won't project it on your team. Yeah, I think
Well,
that's
the thing is, you must be very good at it because if you look at it from this perspective, and obviously, I've known you and I've had the fortunate ability of working with you, working together. I mean, the thing is, from whatever doubt you had from day one to what you are right now and how you have effectively accelerated through here, you've only demonstrated a mastery of knowledge and a capability of learning quickly and leveraging your knowledge in order to create greater opportunities. That kind of compounding knowledge effect that you've done, do you feel as though when you look back to day zero, day one of your journey to the woman you are now and the position you're in, the leadership role you have, do you see that difference in yourself? Do you see, Sapna of, 2 years ago to Sapna of
yeah.
today, or Sapna? Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, of course. Like, I think before I was very much internal facing, and now my role is a kind of external facing as well. Managing clients, partners from like international clients. Like we're working on a global scale here, and that's something that is so insane when you think about it, or when we look back. As even as a junior project manager, if you were to join us in our team, you're gonna be working at a world class level of game development here. It's not a small thing. It's something that you will. I think I have experienced that kind of growth in character as a manager, as someone, like, not even 5 years, even as when I first started in this position. When I think back, I cringe at some of the things I've said or done. Always, like, when you think about it, it's like, oh my god, what was I thinking? But it's such a privilege to actually be able to think that and know, okay, yeah, I'll never do that again, and I've grown as a person. So um, there's two sides to it. The amount of growth that someone would have being in this position, because it's only natural. As a project manager, you deal with so many different kinds of people that you have no choice but to experience that kind of growth, right? But to also understand that we're in the middle of a whole revolution of how things, how the world works, pretty much. Like, we're at the beginning of this, although it already started, but it's just the beginning. And to understand that and to be part of it is, it's like, yeah, just be ready for that kind of growth as well. That's
Do you
insane.
think it's important to reflect? And do
Oh
you do a lot of
yeah.
reflecting?
Yes, I think I do a lot of reflecting. I don't necessarily think a lot about the past. A lot about the past. Like, if you ask me to think about, oh, what you do, remember this event or that event, the past. I don't really do that, but I do remember feeling. Like, I do remember how I felt in a specific time, or how I probably made someone feel, and think about that. As soon as I know, like, okay, I didn't like it, I would kind of, just move away. Some people do journaling. I know people who do journaling every day. They really take some time to sit down, write down what they've learned in the day and stuff. I'm not really like that, um, but I do want to make sure that I don't repeat mistakes that I've made before.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
absolutely. And when you were speaking, I actually just was thinking about just how absolutely true what you're saying is that you work on a global level. All project managers, at least people who work with us at Streamline, you're exposed to the world from day one. There is no
Yeah.
local market. So
Yeah.
you're dealing with people in different parts of the world, different cultures, different backgrounds, different understandings.
Yes.
And your ability to get comfortable with that real quick is probably one of the defining factors of success. So Sapna, basically all this experience, basically being a project manager and basically moving up through the ranks in the organization, brought you to becoming the head of production. Tell us about that job, what you do now, and basically what did you bring from being a project manager over into that position?
Yeah, so what I do now is I manage a team of project managers, some juniors, some more seniors, and we deliver projects. We deliver our assets to our partners. Um, yeah, and so what I mainly do is make sure oversee all the projects that our project managers are working on. I also set the tone, make sure that everyone's kind of hitting the quality. So project managers also have quality bars that we set for ourselves, and we need to have check and balance. And then of course our GM Yaji, she acts as our biggest check and balance, of course. So it kind of works like we put all these different systems in place to make sure that we can in fact deliver on time um, with the quality that that we say we're going to deliver. um, yeah, that's pretty much what I do. It's the same thing, it's just adding another layer of project managers in between. Yeah.
Yeah, so actually I wanted to talk about that. Do you find running project managers harder, easier, or about the same as running engineers and artists?
Hmm. I've never actually thought about that. It's a little bit different, I would say, but it requires the same skills, if that makes sense. But another thing to think about is that managing project managers, you're managing managers, and that requires a different kind of skill set as well. Because different needs, different support that you would need to give the team. Um, the mindset, everyone comes from very diverse backgrounds, so making sure that everyone feels like they have a place within the team, that's important. Because what I've noticed is that, at least in my team, we're all people who are still trying to figure out where we are, where we stand in, our careers. Like, I wouldn't have moved so much in my own career if I knew exactly what my North Star is. But, I noticed that a lot of my team members as well have that same kind of thought process. I know who I am, but I don't know where I'm going. And that's very interesting, because being in Streamline, it allows us that kind of movement, that flexibility, that change, which suits people like us, who don't really have that North Star. But so having having a team like that also has its challenges, because we have to be able to give people a sense of belonging, um, and we do want people to feel like they belong in the team. And yeah, the same goes with artists. Actually, it's no different. Yeah.
So let me ask you, managing managers, because I mean, you said something I think is really very insightful that, managing people who manage other people have different needs from managing people who do a hard skill or a specific skill very directly that are executing on the project.
Yeah.
If we unpack managing managers, what tips would you have for people who find themselves in a position where, just like you're now running a team of people who run multiple
Hmm.
teams? How do you
Yeah.
go about that, and what should people keep in mind?
So first thing, one tip is you need to think about your role differently now, as in what you were doing before you cannot do anymore. Delegate. Because before, when you used to be able to do little administrative stuff, you could handle everything by yourself. But now you have to think about, all those small things are going to take away time from me ensuring that all the systems, all the processes in place that make my own team better. No one's going to do that. I have to be the one doing it, right? So you need to free up time to to get your brain space one step up. I think that's the first thing. And second thing is being always being available for your team, because everyone has personal struggles, and in order for them to be effective managers, they need an outlet, someone that they trust, who understands what they're going through. And same like me as well. Like I always go to like my own manager, and being able to have that person. I mean, not just my own managers. I mean, you guys as well, Stefan or yourself. Like you're very open to, to be like when we were to come to you and talk to you about stuff. Like you listen and you give your own perspectives, right? So being able to be that outlet for your team would help them process some stuff and help them free up mind space to be better managers for their own teams, to handle their own team's issues, or stuff like that. I think those two main tips help me, and I try to coach my own managers or managers as well to do the same. But I think we all have that same philosophy.
So now, we can't have this conversation without, talking about the virus in the room, so to speak. How did you manage project managers and teams during COVID? Because I mean, it's still
Yeah,
happening, and we're not out of the woods yet. I mean, we're still trying to get through
yeah,
this, but how'd you do it? I mean, can you share that with us all?
yeah. First thing is we had a team of our own managers, like again the GMs, you guys coming together and taking the load of moving or thinking about shifting us from office to home. Like that whole load, that whole planning, that burden, so to speak, was taken away from us. So to that, I'll be very thankful, because then we, as managers of projects, could continue keeping things running like nothing's changed. Because we are digital natives, so that helped, of course. We had our GM. Of course, we had a few days of disruptions. Like I said, I don't really remember what happened during that, because it was very quick, very fast that we started working from home again, and continue working from as normal. But we also had the team with an innate understanding that this is going to be a difficult time for a lot of people. Family dynamics are going to change, financial situations are going to change. Like, as much as we are in a privileged position, a privileged industry as well, to continue working from home as normal, um, the human aspect of it is going to be very unpredictable. So we had our team constantly doing touch base basis with each other almost every day, checking in with each other one on ones, just to make sure that everyone's okay. At the same time, um, with the understanding that we still need to deliver on projects. So that was interesting. I think the fact that we had our own managers, the whole management team to handle, make that decision, make all those tough calls on behalf of us while everything else was running smooth. I think that kind of layer was very important and led to that kind of success of us moving to working from home.
Do you believe that the emotional intelligence that you have displayed with your team and yourself helped you navigate through this process, as well as to deal with the overwhelming amount of emotions that were coming back through your team?
Yeah, I think so. Like hmm, being able to parse through and not let things affect you, because you yourself as a manager would have your own struggles working from home, right? And and in order to handle that, it does take a little bit of understanding, like processing your own emotions and relying on your own team members, like making sure that everyone is okay, like that kind of stuff. Like, you can't do it by yourself. Like, as much as you have emotional intelligence, if you don't have a team behind you to support you through this period, no amount of emotional intelligence is gonna make you feel better about what's going on.
No, that's
So
very true. Well, and that's the thing that I think you hit on, is basically having a team and that sense of team, which goes back to culture. When
yeah.
you look at your team and the culture that you've built, do you get strength and energy from that? Is that, how much of that is a reminder to you daily? Is it something that kind of fades into the background, or is that just always on display for you? How do you feel about it?
No, yeah, for me, I can't express how proud I am of my team, the leads, the project managers who have, especially the juniors, the new ones who have grown so much from being not having any knowledge at all in the games industry to managing multi-million dollar projects in total. Through the pandemic, through working from home, all these different stuff that's going on. All very young people. We are all relatively young. I mean, the games industry is relatively young as well, and to be able to handle or go through all these different things, I can't state enough how much I've seen the team grow and how proud I am of them, um, and of course everyone else in the company as well. It's crazy.
It's funny because basically I've always said that, necessity is one of the greatest motivators, but
Yeah.
starvation is probably the greatest one. You will learn, you will figure it out super fast
Yeah.
when it's on the line. And I
Yeah.
think that's something that honestly, hearing your story and just thinking about all of the things that you've all gone through and how you guys were able to pull this together. I mean, clearly, it didn't matter if basically you had all the experience in the world or none of the experience in the world. It was what you chose to do with it to make it happen
Yeah.
that basically brought it together. And I got to tell you, I'm super proud of seeing all of you and what you have been able to do, the resilience and the agility as individuals and as an organization to know that you guys stood shoulder to shoulder and you made it happen. You all delivered. That is something that I find phenomenal about this and something that honestly for me, it's the greatest achievement I think I've ever seen and that I've ever been a part of. So,
Yeah.
it's right back at you. I'm always amazed at what you've been able to do as well and what your team did. It's phenomenal.
It's so interesting to see growth as well. Like, just individually, if you look at your own teams and you see their own journeys, um, all the stuff that all the mistakes that we make together and what we learn from it, and then seeing people rise from junior project managers to senior project managers managing their own team of managers. That kind of growth is so interesting to see so quickly and I think in this industry is very quick compared to others. I don't know, my whole career is streamlined. I can't speak for other industries, but to see it here, we have a lot of young managers who kind of have to, what's the word, like pull up their bootstraps. That's
Yeah,
that's the
I mean,
phrase
that's a
for
good way of
this.
saying it. I mean, that is true. You literally grow by your bootstraps. That's very
Yeah.
true.
Yeah. It's very interesting to see.
So, Sapna, let me ask you, as we're getting towards the end of this discussion, if you had to just summarize it, and I guess, well, before we summarize, let me ask you, is there room for more people in games? Diverse
Oh my
people,
god.
people of color,
Yeah.
women? Like, open up the door. What can we do? We want more women, more diversity, more people of color. What is it that we can do to make this happen?
I think, yeah, that's an interesting question because we need, this industry is infinite at this point. I would say, because the growth, like I mentioned before, I think people have said this a lot. Like, this is the just the beginning. There's so much more growth, or the path of where this industry is going is just way wide, way deep. So there's so much room for POCs, for women, you know, minorities. Like, there's so much room for these types of people. As employers, we need to do better, DNI kind of policies and stuff like those need to be put in place. But for guys, people who want to join the industry, I think you just need to reach out and make yourselves heard as well. Because the only way we can, get or encourage people to join in is when both sides are open and collaborating with each other. You join the industry, join communities, talk about your experiences as POCs, as minorities. um, yeah.
Well, I mean, I think that's some sage advice right there. And I know Layla's cringing, being like, Alexander, why are you asking a woman what roles the video games industry needs to have to fix it? Yes, Layla, I know. But honestly, what it comes down to is, obviously, as a minority, as someone who's been in this business, I will tell you right now, it's like we can't wait for people to invite us, kick the damn door open and get in. Because honestly, that's how you get into the video games industry. No one invites you. You show up, you just don't leave. And that's really
Yeah.
what it came down to. And I think about Streamline and the history of all the people from POCs to basically minorities to obviously all the differences of people that we have, 45 nationalities and 25 different languages. It just comes down to one simple thing. And I think we talked about it at the very beginning before we started taping. The secret of being in video games, work. The secret of success, work. You want to be anything in life, work. The bottom line is work. I mean, I don't know how else to say it, but it sounds like working is what you're going to be doing, and then you'll die,
Yeah.
which is pretty much life in general. What do you think,
Yes.
Sabna? Is that fatalist or what?
You just summed up the entire thing in just like, just a few words. That's great.
I don't know, Sabna. What do you think? You think is that a little bit too dark, or is that just kind of clear?
No, it's clear. I like it. I think yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, what do you want? Like that is it, right? You died
I
yet.
know. You know what? It's like we're gonna end this on a high note.
Yeah.
Obviously, life isn't just about working; it's also about enjoying. But Sabna, it has been absolutely a pleasure watching you grow, working with you, seeing you climb new heights, and basically watch you lead new teams. And honestly, how can people reach out to you? People that are listening, thinking like, "Man, Sapna, she's got it down. I'd like to follow her." What can they do? How can people find you?
Yeah, LinkedIn would be the best place. You just send me a message anytime if you're interested in project management and how to join in the games industry. Like I mentioned earlier, there are some producer communities on Discord, which people do share knowledge, experiences. I think that is valuable for people who just want to observe what it's like and who the people who is in this community. I can always send you an invite to that. Yeah, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, whatever. I'm cool.
She is very cool. I can attest to that. Coolest person in video games. I'll tell you that right now. Sabna, thank you
Hey.
so much for joining. Wow,
Thank
no,
you
it's
for
true,
having
man.
me.
Well, no, I mean, I really appreciate you being on there, but what you got to do is definitely update that playlist and get that on an open public one so people can listen to Sapna's tunes. I'm telling you,
Yes.
everyone, you got to hear her playlist. It's phenomenal. Sapna, honestly, always
Um,
a pleasure. Thank you for coming on to Video Games Real Talk.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, no problem. Now, everyone, we are going to be going super quick this year. It's almost the end of the year. Can you believe it? Turkey Day is coming up for the Americans out there. For those that are not Americans but have to live with our holidays, it is Thanksgiving coming up. We're super excited about that, but that does not end Video Games Real Talk. We are going to be pushing through with brand new episodes as we continue this journey on the business of video games. We appreciate you for listening to us. Please shout out, comment, share, like, tell us you love it, tell us you hate it, but do so on Apple Music, Spotify, or wherever you get your fine podcasts. Check us out on VGRT.com, or you can tweet me at Starveup or at VGRT on Twitter. Please give us your comments. And as always, thank you for listening and being a part of this with us. We'll see you guys next time.